Hello again, it's John and Claire from JH Coaching, and today we're going to talk about mechanisms to help you achieve your goals.
So here are 6 things that we think could work for you by way of mechanisms to help you get out there and train. 1, routine. 2, have your kit ready as the first thing that you come to. 3, avoid distractions. 4, train with someone else. 5, plan your training around your life, not in spite of it. And 6, plan your training session so you know what's coming in your session.
So for instance, if you always forget your keys, then you could put your keys in a jar by the door so that when you pass them you think, oh, I'll put my keys in my pocket, and then eventually you get a habit so then you don't forget your keys. So you can use these. Over the last 30 years I've developed these mechanisms to help me not forget to do things or create habits to practice the things that I want to practice, and it's actually quite an effective way to create these process goals which ultimately lead to success in other more outcome related goals. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Have you used mechanisms in your life since you've met me or before? Or?
Yeah, I think my experience of working with people in a variety of different roles has always been that it can be quite hard for them to motivate or to do that first step, whether that first step is getting out of bed or whether that first step is getting to an appointment on time. But if I can work with someone to create a mechanism by which they can do that, which might be by ringing them half an hour before and saying, don't forget your appointment, until that becomes a habit, they eventually get to a point where they can do that themselves. So they might think, oh, instead of you ringing me half an hour before, I'll put something in my calendar as a reminder. And then that's the mechanism for them getting to their appointment on time. So I think mechanisms which then become habits, which they can then take into their life, is a really helpful way of achieving goals on a small scale and on a big scale.
Yeah. So how can we apply that? How can you apply it to your life and to achieving your sporting goals? Well, one thing that I have found to be incredibly effective is having a routine. When I used to work and on a 9-to-5 job, I could form a routine about my work. So I realised that if I commuted to work by initially when I used to running to work and then subsequently cycling to work, it was a great way to make sure I did the training. By cycling to work, I'd already done some training, and so I felt better about myself. And that actually meant that I was more likely to do the second training session of the day, which tended to be harder and a bit more focused. Consequently, or subsequently, I've always tried to create routines that mean that I do the things that I need to do during the day. And now that I don't have to go to work. I work here in our base in France. But I still have a routine. I get up at a certain time every day, take the dog for a walk, and then I start work. And that works brilliantly for me. And I've coached certain athletes, and I say to them, yeah, routines are great. You should try and work with a routine. And they say, oh, I don't like routines. I don't want to do the same thing every day. It gets boring. And then after maybe 6 months or a year, lo and behold, they've got a routine, because that's really the only effective way, or certainly the most effective way to build fitness, and also to get the things done that you need to do throughout the day, or week, or month, or years. In terms of an Olympic cycle, I coach some Paralympic athletes, and it's a 4-year cycle, but we still have that routine of downtime, gradually building up to this year, Paralympic year, being much more focused and on it.
Yeah, I was thinking when you were talking about the commute, what a perfect mechanism that is to create a routine, because you're taking something that you've got to do and then just putting some, changing the way you do that thing that you have to do. and that's a really good way of building a routine for something like training. Yeah, no, I think this is one that I certainly use. So if you get changed after work, or maybe you have a run in the morning, if you put your kit out as the first things that you see when you go into your room or when you wake up, then that's what you're going to put on, and that is taking you one step nearer to your goal of going out for a run. So when I go to bed at night, I put my running kit by my bed ready to put on in the morning, so that I know that I can get up, have my breakfast and go for a run, and that works really well for me. Whereas if I got up and my jeans were there, I might put my jeans on, and then, you know, I'd mess about for ages, and then I'd be like, oh, I've got to get changed to go for my run. And equally, coming back from work, it can be really tempting to just sit down and watch a bit of telly, or, you know, get changed into something more comfortable. If your kit's there, that's what you put on. You go straight out the door for your run.
I suppose when you get home, it's nice to sit down and have a cup of tea or coffee, but also it's actually better to have a nice cup of tea or coffee after you've done the training and the things you need to do. So what you could do is put a sign on the kettle. So have a permanent sign, a little bit of cardboard with it saying, get out and do your running, don't switch me on, or something like that, to give you that reminder. And also make it awkward for yourself, so make sure the kettle's empty when you leave in the morning if you wanted to do your training at night, so that when you get back you would actually have to fill the kettle, which is another step, and that delays your thinking process and think, oh, actually, you know, I really should, or I really could go out and do this workout, and then I'd really enjoy sitting down and relaxing and enjoying that feeling of having worked hard and just being able to chill out for the rest of the evening.
I think as well, I quite like, it's something that motivates me to get out, especially if it's bad weather, is a bit of a delayed reward. So maybe thinking, well, I'm not going to have my cup of tea now because I'm going to go for my run, and then I'll deserve my cup of tea. And then that can motivate me to get out and do something.
Yeah. And then the next one is arrange to train with somebody else. And I know that I quite like training on my own. So and the routine's really what works for me. But I know you like to run or cycle or train with other people. So that's perhaps something you could talk about in.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, when I first started running, I think the thing that got me through long Sunday runs is there was another lass who lived on the road next to me, Anne-Marie, who's actually a very good friend of mine, and we would run together every Sunday morning. That's what we'd do. And that helped me not just get out the door, but it also meant that I went further because I had someone to run with. And we made that commitment. And so because I had that commitment, I would get up early and have my breakfast and be ready to run because I didn't want to let my friend down. So that worked really well for me.
Yeah. It's good to have a routine, but your routine has to work with your life. And so you don't want to try and force a routine on yourself. So you need to plan the training that you want to do around your life. So for instance, I talked about commuting, and when I first started training for cycling, I tried to train, like, I'd read loads of books, that's just my style, and learned about cycle training, and it didn't work for me. I just ended up getting tired or not able to ride at the correct intensity. And then I thought, well, actually I've spent 15 years training as a runner and then doing some triathlon, and what really worked for me and got me, actually occasionally winning races was commuting and just using that commute. So I just started doing 20 minutes to work in the morning, which I was fortunate enough to live close enough to work. Or when I lived further away, I took the car, I took the train part of the way. And then I did my main session in the evening, so I'd already got a good aerobic workout in the morning. And that was just working with things that I knew worked for me, and also working around my life and what I had to do and what got me to work and back. And I still find that works now for me. I get up, take the dog a walk in the morning, so that's a really sort of low intensity piece of a bit of exercise, but it still counts. and then I do my main session in the afternoon.
So you basically transferred your running training into your cycling training?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've found that, I'm going to actually do a video about this, that running training works really well for cycling and vice versa. Some athletes, one particular athlete I can think of, I found that doing running sessions on a hand cyclist actually was really effective, and she started, winning races and is now, one of the best hand cyclists in the world. So you would never. It's not the first thing you would think of, that using things that are traditionally from other areas, like running to hand cycling, or even in other areas of life, would work in other areas of life, and actually looking for the similarities and working with the basic principles is a really good way to transfer from things that aren't working to things that do work. All sport is about finding things that work for you. All of life is really finding things that work for you and not worrying about what other people say should work for you if it doesn't work.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is something that I have learnt the hard way, this last point, which is about not just planning your training, but knowing your workout before you get out the door. So especially when I've been really stressed and rushed, I've sort of got in, I've got the clothing system right, and I've got my clothes on, and I've got out of the door, and I've got my sports watch, and I'm like, oh, what's the session? Oh, how do I do that? Oh, I'm not quite sure. Oh, I need to go back in and just check. Oh, I need to now text my coach because I'm not really sure what this means. And that's half an hour lost, and also a lot of motivation lost, and quite a lot of frustration gained. So spending just 5 minutes in the morning or at lunchtime, while you're eating your sandwich, looking at your session for the afternoon and thinking, all right, I've got 5x200, or I've got this Gershla fartlek. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe I'll contact somebody and ask what a Gershla fartlek is, so that by the time you get in your clothes on, you know exactly what you're going to do and you can go out and do it.
Yeah, and you're mentally prepared for it. So if you're not fortunate enough to be able to run or cycle to work, then, or if you drive or if you're on the train, you can think, oh, this is the session I'm going to do. This is what it's meant to do for my fitness. This is how I'm going to do it, and look at the weather. This is the kit that's going to be appropriate, and this is where I'm going to do it. And then not only are you more likely to do the training, but also it's going to be much more effective, because it's shown that if you engage your mind in the process of training, it's more effective than just going through the physical process of doing it.
Absolutely. I like, actually, having got that principle in my mind, I like psychologically preparing myself for a session and thinking, right, I'm doing short reps today, this means that, I'm going to have to really push it, or whatever. That really helps me. So 1, routine. 2, have your kit ready as the first thing that you come to. 3, avoid distractions. 4, train with someone else. 5, plan your training around your life, not in spite of it. And 6, plan your training session so you know what's coming in your session.
I hope that helps. Make a comment, let us know what mechanism you use. If we can help in any way, please get in touch, either by making a comment or sending us an email, contact us via Facebook, whichever works best for you. If you like this video, click like and subscribe, and hope you enjoy the next video. Bye.
Yeah, see you soon.